Hello friends, welcome to this video on Gap Advisors channel. Myself CA Manish C. Iyer. In this video I will be discussing on an issue from issue repository on gapadvisors.com. The issue is accounting for waiver of import duty on raw materials. Registration on gapadvisors.com is free. On registration, you will get 48 hours of free subscription access to all repositories. The issue repository contains 4500 plus issues and their response on Ind AS and Indian GAAP. You can submit your issues on Ind AS and Indian GAAP. The average response time has been less than 72 hours till date. The facts of the case as submitted by the queries are given on your screen. The company has imported certain raw materials without payment of import duty. The company is obligated to discharge commensurate export obligations within period of 6 years. If not, company needs to surrender the import duty benefit and pay the import duty. The company is confident to fulfill its export obligations based on current export orders on hand and past experience. Basis the limited facts, I will discuss the following. 1. Whether the waiver of import duty is a government grant. 2. If waiver of import duty is a government grant, what is the type of that grant? When to recognize the grant in balance sheet? When to recognize in profit or loss? How to present in balance sheet? And how to present in profit or loss? Paragraph 3 of Ind AS 20 accounting for government grants and disclosure of government assistance contains definitions of various terms. To understand whether waiver of import duty is a government grant, we would understand the definition of government grant. The definition is given on your screen. Applying the definition to the given case, the waiver of import duty is a transfer of a resource to the company. Conditions for that transfer include the past event of import of raw materials and future event of export of goods within a period of 6 years. Therefore, the waiver of import duty meets the definition of government grant. Ind AS 20 identifies two types of government grant. Grant related to income, grant related to assets. For a grant to be related to asset, the primary condition must be acquisition of long-term assets. In the given case, the company has acquired raw materials which is not a long-term asset. Further, in the given case, there are two primary conditions: import of raw materials and export obligations within 6 years. Therefore, the grant is not related to assets. Accordingly, the grant is related to income. Paragraph 7 of Ind AS 20 contains the principle for recognition of government grant, and para 12 of Ind AS 20 contains the principle for recognition of government grant in profit or loss. Therefore, para 7 provides the principle for recognizing the grant in balance sheet. Para 7 requires reasonable assurance. What it requires? Para 7 requires reasonable assurance that the company will comply with the conditions of the grant and the grant will be received. Therefore, if it is more probable than not that the company will comply with the conditions of the grant and the grant will be received, the company must recognize the grant in balance sheet. In the given case, the queries has submitted that the company has export orders on hand and based on empirical data, the company is confident of fulfilling the export obligations. Also, the company has already received the grant on import of raw materials without payment of import duty. Therefore, both the conditions in para 7 of Index 20 are met. Accordingly, the company must recognize the grant of waiver of import duty on raw materials in balance sheet. Para 12 of Index 20 requires grants to be recognized in profit or loss as the company recognizes as expenses the related costs for complying with the conditions of the grant. In the given case, the company will be incurring export expenses for fulfilling export obligations. Therefore, the company shall recognize the grant of waiver of import duty on raw materials in profit or loss as the company fulfills its export obligations. Basis the limited facts, the company has not fulfilled any export obligation as on date. Therefore, the waiver of import duty on raw materials shall be recognized only in balance sheet and not in profit or loss as on date. The question arises on how to present the waiver of import duty on raw materials in balance sheet. Para 24 of Index 20 provides a choice to present the grant either as deferred income or by deducting the grant from the carrying amount of the asset for grants related to asset. However, in the given case, we discussed that the grant is related to income. Para 29 of Index 20 contains a principle for presentation of grant related to income. However, Para 29 of Index 20 talks of presentation in profit or loss. Thus, there is no specific requirement for presentation of grant related to income in balance sheet. Therefore, the question arises whether the company can reduce the cost of raw material by the amount of import duty waived or must present the amount of import duty waived as deferred income. Para 32 on repayment of grants requires that repayment of grant related to income be applied first against any unamortized deferred credit recognized in respect of the grant. For repayment of grant related to asset, Para 32 talks of increasing the carrying amount of the asset. Therefore, basis the requirements of Para 32 on repayment of grants related to income cannot be presented by deducting from the carrying value of the asset. Grants related to income shall be presented in balance sheet as deferred income. Therefore, the waiver of import duty on raw materials shall be recorded as raw materials debit to deferred government grant income. As the company fulfills export obligations, the company will recognize the waiver of import duty in profit or loss by recording the following. deferred government grant income debit to government grant income. While presenting in profit or loss, the company has a policy choice to present the waiver of import duty on raw materials as income or as a reduction of cost of goods sold. Whatever policy the company chooses, the company shall disclose the same in accounting policy on government grants in accordance with para 117 capital B of Ind AS 1. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to Gap Advisors channel on YouTube. Please share this video to spread the knowledge and awareness on Ind AS. Do register on gapadvisors.com. We look forward to your issues on Ind AS and Indian GAAP on gapadvisors.com. Thank you.